Hi, my name is Kalisha Williams and I'm applying for the Davis Connect K through 6 teaching position. I just want to start off by telling you a little bit about myself. First of all, I have taught for 11 years in the traditional classroom setting, and my whole life has actually revolved around teaching and education. I've wanted to be a teacher since I was a child, and I've had many opportunities to be able to help others and serve other people in learning, not only in a classroom environment, but also as a math and reading tutor in college. I also have taught piano lessons for over 20 years. I've done that both independently and in a studio setting. And I have also consistently worked with adults in completing writing tasks and studying for exams and preparing for jobs and careers and experiences like that. So over the years, I have actually developed a teaching philosophy, and basically that is, I believe that the word educate comes from the Latin word educe, and that means to bring forth what is within and to bring out potential. I believe that the human spirit is so receptive, and all that it takes is one person to show you the epiphany of your power, and you're off. That's really the reason why I went into teaching in the first place, is to help children reach their potential. So why do I want to work in an online setting? Well, like I said earlier, I've had 11 years of experience in the traditional classroom. I've done that in charter schools as well as public schools. But I've also had 2 years experience teaching online through Say ABC. And Say ABC is a sister company to the more well-known VIP Kid, as well as I've also worked with a few other similar online teaching organizations in China. And I love doing that. And I learned some invaluable skills and best practices that I would love to put into practice again. I feel like with my experience both in the classroom and with Say ABC that I have a lot to offer to the Davis Connect program. So the next question is, in an online setting, how would I differentiate instruction to meet the needs of all learners? I just want to share a proverb, an old proverb. It says, "To train a child according to his way, even when he grows old, he will not turn away from it." So we're not instructed as educators to give each child the same response to his or her inquiries. All people have different experiences and backgrounds, and rather we're shown that the most effective means of teaching is always to meet the learner where he or she is and to take into consideration the perspective and current developmental stage of the child. And in doing so, we hope that our message reaches a student and helps him or her grow in understanding and critical thinking skills. So if we've done our jobs, and we're lucky, when he grows older, he will not turn away from the learning. So with that, I want to say kind of a definition of differentiation to me. I believe that differentiation means to tailor the instruction to meet individual needs by either differentiating the content, the process, the assessment, or the learning environment. So the very experience of learning in an online classroom addresses a differentiated learning environment on its own. And also, I believe that the scheduling flexibility of online learning provides another nuanced strategy for differentiated instruction. Each of us experiences fluctuation in our capacity to process information. So perhaps you might be a night owl and you're energetic and alert late at night, or maybe you experience peak levels of concentration and focus in the morning. Or maybe every day might be different for how and when you learn best. So if an online platform is asynchronous, then it can capitalize on students' motivation and inspiration, as a student can engage in learning at times when they are most alert and open to receiving that information. So how can I differentiate the content of my online course? Well, content is what the student needs to know or how they will access the information. So while the content for all students would need to remain consistent, how the student accesses this information can be differentiated. I could allow students to access videos in addition to or instead of just reading the text. I could post my main lesson in a PowerPoint format rather than just a narrative form. I could post a video lecture on YouTube. Or also there's new technology tools in online courses such as TextReader that could be used to support students with limited English skills or proficiency in reading, as well as students who are visually impaired. Also, I might be able to provide a variety of journal articles, textbooks, blogs, websites that center around the same concept for the knowledge acquisition and allow the students to choose which they would read. So how can I differentiate the process of students learning in my online course? The process would refer to the activities that a student would engage in to understand the content. So I could monitor my students' performance and then individualize their learning pathway. This would allow my students at both ends of the spectrum and anywhere in between to benefit from online learning. So I could have tiered assignments to support different learning styles, or for students who could handle and might require more challenging materials, teachers in an online setting could adapt their instruction, or I could adapt my instruction by adding lesson content and additional exploratory resources. And these materials could be part of the course as it's developed and are available to any student that is seeking a greater challenge. So also discussion forums, I could allow choice in which discussions the students would engage in or choose to engage in, or I could even have student-led discussions to give them more ownership of their learning. So, I'm sorry, my mouth is dry. So then the last one is, how would I maybe work with the assessment process? So the most important aspect of differentiated instruction in an online classroom, or one of them, I guess, is through varied assessment strategies. So student understanding could be assessed in both the traditional or in innovative ways, such as discussions, journaling, or group project or activities that require the students to produce works of art or maybe creative writing, etc. So let me share with you 3 teaching strengths that set me apart from other applicants, and 3 teaching areas or educational skills that I would like to improve. So I'll go with my strengths first. First of all, I'm consistently patient and positive with almost everyone I engage with on a daily basis. I have a lot of energy, and especially at the beginning of a new day. I make it a goal to laugh every single day, no matter what, and I encourage others to also join in with me. And I find that for that reason, students and adults alike enjoy being around me. My mantra actually comes from Patch Adams. I believe that he says adults should look like they are having fun to give students or kids a reason to want to grow up. So I do kind of relate to, and share his thinking in that. Number 2, I take pride in strategic efforts to begin every one of my sessions or class periods to, especially when my classes are smaller, by greeting students individually, connecting with them positively in some way, or acknowledging their presence during my class. And I don't know if in a larger class, if that's not possible every day, I would make sure that it's, regularly checked on, that I make sure that I connect with each student as often as possible. So the same would go for when they say goodbye at the end of my class or my session. I try to kind of say their names, say a special goodbye to them, thank them for, their participation and things like that in class. So that's always been a successful, that's always produced a special, or an outcome that is positive. So I also think differently. So this is my 3rd one. I think differently. My parents and I were told by a pediatrician when I was a child that I was both left-handed and left-brained. which I guess it's the opposite. You're left-handed and right-brained is more common. I didn't really know what that meant, but I've learned over the years that not only am I a mathematical, logical thinker, but I'm also very strong linguistically, both in written and spoken language, and this enhances my ability. This is what I found. It enhances my ability to clearly and methodically articulate specifically challenging math theorems and abstract algorithms and procedures, and I can deliver high quality instruction to reach almost every learner. So some of the challenges that that I might face that I would want to improve on are time management specifically. And I mean I would create routines, procedures, and time blocks to guide my lessons along smoothly without going over time or having too much extra time in class, because most people would say time management is the problem with not finding enough time in the day to complete everything, or wasting time and not being able to finish things. But I really find that having too much extra time in class is also a time management issue and can cause problems. So I worry about that sometimes, and so that's something that I would want to work on. My second one would be that I tend to feel a bit of imposter syndrome at times. I do understand that these thinking errors that come with this are fallacies. So knowing that I can focus on my strengths and really bring those into my teaching. But I know that I'm not the only person, specifically teachers, who experience this. And many people do not know the term or how to describe what that is. And so they feel alone and unable to talk about it or seek support for it. So really, I've always felt that I should take the weaknesses or the challenges that I face and somehow use it to help other people. So I would like to maybe do some research on some strategies that or approaches that I could use to diminish the power that imposter syndrome can have on a person's achievement, and maybe even not only for myself, but to help other people who might be experiencing the same thing, including my students. So the last one would be my ability to self-care. So I do care a lot about my students, and sometimes I feel like that I need to make sure there's boundaries. And by boundaries, I mean that's the distance at which I can love another person and myself simultaneously. So if I'm giving too much energy and caring about my students or others so much that I'm giving up taking care of myself, that would be a problem. Or if I'm more concerned with me and have no concern for the people around me, that's not balanced either. So I would probably want to I always try to keep balanced in that. And so what I would say that I could fix that with would be to work with all the connections that I have available to me on, like my colleagues at work or my family or my friends, to stay strong emotionally, physically, spiritually, and socially. And then when I'm not working, that I would engage, kind of like leave the classroom and the worries behind and engage in activities that I enjoy, like music or other hobbies that create a healthy separation and maintain that balance. The final question is, how do you keep a non-motivated, non-productive student engaged and progressing and learning? So online, I can honestly say that is a difficult thing because you don't have the ability to do that proximity control like you would in a classroom setting. So I would say that structure is probably the key to that. Using the same routines in the classroom activities would help students to stay engaged and be successful. They need to know what's coming next. They need to know what we're doing today. So I would be able to support those students by using predictable routines. I would do short, direct instruction and lectures. And it's hard to use the word lectures, but just shorter, direct instruction, because all of our attention spans really Studies have found that there are really no more than 15 minutes even for adults. So for kids, you want to do direct instruction and then maybe support that with some multimedia presentations within the teaching. Maybe if I see a student struggling, I could work with that student one-on-one in a chat mode of some sort to inquire about any special needs or concerns they might be having. And then the last thing I would do is I guess I would do other things, but I could implement positive interactions, such as a reward system that might be embedded in the platform, or which, like in the kids in China, when I would teach them, there would be like reward cards, and but there would also be like negative I don't know how to say it, negative cards if they were off task or something. I didn't usually like to use those very often because I don't know if that's the most productive way to reward us or to make a student be more engaged. But so I could use a reward system that's embedded in the platform, but I would also maybe want to have a secondary reward system outside of the platform, like stars or, you know, smiley faces or tick marks or something to, you know, over a period of time. But so those are the things that I would say would work for students that maybe aren't as engaged. But connections are really the key to everything. And I do find that that's a strength that I have, is the ability to connect with students and to keep them engaged in that way. So anyway, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity that I have to interview or do this video interview for you. So I hope that I get to speak to you soon, and I look forward to that. Thank you. Bye.